Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio today? Yes, no, maybe. We do or we don't. Okay, thanks. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it is the time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. It's May 5th, which is a Thursday. How's everybody doing today? I think we've all had our little trials and tribulations for the morning on with some of these charts that will get resolved. That's right. We have Cinco de Mayo today. Very good. So, sorry I haven't been around for a couple of days. I've had some things that I absolutely had to stop and take care of. And so I have not been trading for the last couple of weeks, and I'm just kind of sitting here, oh my goodness, I wish I woulda. However, we've had markets up and then down this morning. All these indices are pretty much staying together, but they sure haven't wanted to take a trend. And I've got to looking at some of this stuff. The euro and the US dollar are trading opposite of what they have to, what they normally do. The euro has really trailed on down, but the dollar doesn't seem to have gone up correspondingly as much. And normally they are just exactly the opposite. Crude oil's had lots of stuff in the news. The last couple days we've had. Hang on just a second. I'm going to turn this off. I'm sorry I have to take a break. Somebody's at my door, and I'm here by myself. So, of course, it would be right now. I'm going to shut the mic off, and I'll be right back. Is the audio back on? I hope. Maybe. Good. Thanks, Scott. Okay. As I was saying. Anyway, the currencies. I don't know how many people in here trade these currencies, but the Canadian dollar and the Aussie dollar have both been in a real tight, choppy little range all day, and I expected the Canadian dollar might take a little bit of a downturn because I don't know if you've seen the news, but Alberta is having a terrible time. They've got a wildfire that's out of control up there, and it is surrounding their very best shale fields. And so they've had to evacuate a whole bunch of people, and they've shut down a whole bunch of their oil operations to the point of about 100,000 barrels a day. And this is happening at the same time when some of the Libyan oil is coming offline too, due to all their fiascos they go through from time to time. But now it's affecting their oil production. So that's what's caused this to jump up a little bit, and it really did from overnight until it's backed off a little bit now for the last couple hours. But anyway, I know Lori has been putting in some really helpful chart shots, and we seem to have some new people who need some help. I can help a little bit if I know what it is. But while I've got this on, I want to show people one more time. If you're new and you do not have Jing and you don't know how to use it and how to post things in this room, Jing is a freebie in the forum. There is a whole post on how to use it with screenshots. And if you can spend a little time and practice with that, nobody minds if you put, test shots in that you're trying to make sure you know how to work it. But it is the most helpful tool for learning that you're going to find. Because when you post your charts and you clearly mark where you thought there was an entry, it doesn't matter whether you took the entry or not. That's not what the whole point of doing this is that you learn to recognize where the good ones are and differentiate between the good ones and the bad ones. It's one thing to know when to get in, but there's an equally important element to that is when knowing, you know what, I think I'm just going to let that one pass. And sometimes you're glad you did, and sometimes you sit there and say, well, I wish I had taken that, but I'm too late to get on the bus. Don't chase the bus. Whatever you do, do not chase the bus. So anyway, we didn't have a heck of a lot of news that affected the morning trading most of this week, but tomorrow morning at 8:30, that's going to change. Tomorrow morning, there is unemployment, Canadian unemployment, there's non-farm employment change, unemployment rate for the U.S., and average hourly earnings. The economists are really starting to pay attention to this average hourly earnings. So those are all going to be important. At 8:30 tomorrow, make darn sure that you really, really want to get in that trade before you take it. It's usually best to wait a few minutes and see what's going to happen. Just let everybody else get out there and get in front of that. But that can be most people usually only have to do that one time, and it really teaches them a lesson. So I'm trying to save you from having to go through that. Anyway, that's for tomorrow. The other thing, while these indices don't seem to want to go one way or the other, we've got the VIX trading about 1563 right now. Brent oil has backed off its high for the last couple of 3 hours. And things kind of seem like they're in a little bit of a waiting pattern. So, bonds this morning. I was trying to remember bonds. This 4-tick chart on bonds, here, I'll put it over here on my camera screen so we can all look at it. This is C's. It may not be exactly like Lori's, but at least I try to make mine close to it. This thing is really, it's easy. Granted, ZB is very slow. It's like a lumbering ox. You have to get the patience. So don't forget about your P's. I think Craig put in there, that's a really good idea, Craig. Practice one of the P's pick one, and then practice that P for a day until really try to incorporate that in your trading. You want to get very picky about your entries, and bonds will teach you that. Be sure you do that with entries on bonds. You must be picky, 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 picky. And it's going to take some patience to let that thing develop. You have to wait until it really, and if you notice today, the bond bus driver is in love with settlement. He loves that. This right here, settlement's what, 64.11. 64.11. But normally, when you get a trend, I like to put the trend catcher entries, just the entries on here. You don't take, I absolutely do not take every one of them, but they're good price level markers to let you know when you might have a good entry if you can verify that with other things that you use. And then this one was by far the best one, but normally you're going to get about 10 ticks. Sometimes you get more. Sometimes you'll only get maybe 8 or so. If if bonds are new to you, you might be a little more comfortable trading ZN, which is the 10-year note. This is the 30-year long bond, and it ticks in $31.25 a tick. So you really do, from a money management standpoint, you really do have to be quite picky about that. So if you're new and you're new to trading and you haven't watched bonds and you don't quite understand the bond market, you might want to try ZN and practice that in demo for a while till you kind of, every single market has its own personality and it responds a little differently to a few different things. This past week, the close, especially on NQ, has been, it's moved, and it's because of earnings season. And some of these bigger companies coming out with their earnings they pick. The beauty of this is some of those earnings are announced at 4 o'clock. Well, the futures market closes at 4:15. So sometimes there's a significant trade in response to those. Anyway, sorry I had to run to the door, but that's life and trading land here, I guess. This has been my view from my world in Apex land, brought to you by Apex Investing. I'll see you tomorrow about noon.